can start. You hear me? Dengar nggak?
Dengar, Prof.
Okay. Can somebody reply? Let we start. We are waiting for maybe 1 or 2 people more, but let we start. I have only 30 minutes to start with this lecture. Today we are talking about the coastal system analysis. Before we start off this subject, I would like to introduce you to what we call system analysis. This subject is actually part of the what we call integrated coastal zone management, and one of the important of the coastal zone management is the coastal zone itself. The coastal zone is normally we call it complicated area where many physical, like people, you are guys, trees, waters, buildings, and non-physical items like organizations, laws, rules, ethics, exist and interact with each other. Meaning, we are having communication between the physical aspect, like buildings, people, and other things, with non-physical aspect, which is the organization, rules, laws, ethics, cultures, social condition, etc. and so on. Part of this, the most important is what we call system analysis, meaning is a broad strategy to make an orderly and logical organization of data into models. So by the way, when you call system analysis, you always thinking about how we organizing the data into the model. So we will not present a complete analysis in this lecture, because indeed it is need more time to incorporate many aspects on the coastal systems. Just to let you know, for example, the complete analysis could be also considering physical aspect, non-physical aspect, cultural aspect, and many other aspects. But the first step for such a study helps defining the subject. So by the way, now we are learning about the system analysis as introductory. What are the boundaries and what does it consist of? At least those 2 questions are our area for the lecture today and for the next 3 or 4 another meetings. I hope you hear me very clear and loud. Let me start with the coastal system analysis by definition. What the meaning of the coastal system? Coastal system is a complex and dynamic system. So why we call complex and dynamic? Because we incorporate many aspects on the coastal area. If you understand, if you observe the coastal area, actually many aspects are going on that area. For example, on the name of the land use purposes, you may understand that the coastal area is the place for industrial estate. The coastal area is also the place for settlements. The coastal area is also the place for agriculture. The coastal area is also the place for aquaculture, etc. and so on. So that's why when we talking about the coastal system, it's a complex and dynamic system. Please observe this. In a spatial zone where the interaction of the sea and land process occurs. So by having this definition, we always take the consideration between the sea itself and the land. And we try to understand the process between the land and sea. So this is the meaning of the coastal system. The meaning of analysis is the process of breaking a complex topics or breaking the complex subsistence into smaller parts to gain a better understanding of it. So by this we understand that actually coastal system analysis as our subject this morning consists of the 2 important words. The first is coastal system, the second is analysis. Analysis by definition is the process of breaking a complex topic or substance into smaller parts to gain a better understanding of it. And coastal system is a complex and dynamic system in spatial zone where the interaction of the sea and land process occurs. So up to this point, I hope you all understand why and what are the area of the subject of coastal system analysis. So again, I have to confirm to you, do you hear me clear and loud? Clear. Okay, great. Let me continue. So the first is the meaning of the subject itself. As I mentioned, coastal system analysis consists of two words, which is the first word is coastal system. It's a complex or dynamic system in a spatial zone where the interaction of the sea and land process happens. And analysis is the process of breaking, making the complex into the smaller pieces to gain the better understanding of it. So by having these two definitions, now I come to you with the diagram of our words. This is the diagram of simplification of our words. The coastal system is part of the world. So this is no doubt. We are fully agree with this, that the coastal system part of the world. The world consists of the system which is nature's and human. By simplifying the system on Earth, we are agree that there is two major component of the system, which is the natures and the other hand humans. Each of these two provide the boundary condition. By having these two systems, we have the boundaries between these two systems, which is natural system and human system. Each of these two provide the boundary condition for the development of the coastal zone. So meaning, the development of the coastal zone is always influenced by natures and human. At the highest level of abstraction, the coastal zone is controlled by two dynamic sources of activity. Okay, the coastal zone is controlled by two dynamic sources of activity. The first is the natural activities. Or nature activities. You can mention it, for example, wave energy, wind energy, fluvial energy, endogenous energy, etc., and so on. This is the part of the nature system. Nature create their own pattern. For example, on the coastal area, you can find cliff, you can find sand dunes, you can find coastline, you can understand back swarm, you understand natural levee, etc. and so on. If there is not the nature, then we consider to the other element, which is human activities. And the human activities on a broad scale, you understand as anthroposphere, which is the first happen due to the human activity. The anthroposphere, which is the process influenced by human activity as a part of the system on the coastal area. Those two systems, which is the nature and human, if you have a look on that diagram, they provide the natural boundary condition. And the human later on, which provide what we call socio-economic development plans. The human activity create social aspect, create culture aspect, and create all the human things, building, bridge, roads, irrigation, network, etc. and so on. So, in order to understand the coastal system analysis, we should on the first step, understand what is the nature, what is the humans, as you can see on this diagram. So, as the next schematizing step, we can make the schema. That's why we call schematizing step. Three major subsystems in the coastal zone are distinguished. There is three major coastal zone as a subsystem on the coastal zone. So, by the way, the world has their own system. Coastal zone is part of the world system. In a coastal zone, there is the two major system, natures and human. Natures, all those things created by natures with the nature energy, like wave energy, wind energy, fluvial energy, endogenous energy, earthquake, volcanic, etc. and so on. And the other thing is human with their things, with their behaviors, with their thoughts, with their plans. For example, we have the building, we have the road, we have the bridge, etc. and so on. So, after the two major systems on the coastal area, we have right now three major subsystems. The first is the what we call natural system. The natural system, which encompass all relevant non-human domain. Again, natural system consists of all relevant non-human domain. What is that? Atmosphere, lithosphere, and hydrosphere. In atmosphere, you can see many things: wind, climate, temperatures, humidity, and so on. Lithosphere, you can see the rocks, bedrocks, the chemistry of the bedrock, and other thing related to the soil, other thing related to the characteristic of the soil, etc. and so on. And also you have the hydrosphere, which is consists of starting from precipitation up to the runoff, waters, water bodies, groundwaters, etc. and so on. So including their own dynamic and mutual interaction through what we call abiotic, biotic, and chemical process, and we understand this as ABC process. This is the domain of the natural resource, which could very well exist without the presence of man. So we can understand, the abiotic, biotic, and chemical process, ABC process, is always happen with or without the intervention of humans. Then this is we call as natural system. Also, in the coastal area, we cannot avoid the abiotic, biotic, and chemical process that always happen in our case. So this is the first domain that you should understand. The second one, beside the natural system, we have the user function. This user function is actually represent the entire set of human interests. Again, I should say the entire set of human interests in terms of the use in the broadest sense, which is or may be made of the natural resources. Everything that people are doing using the natural condition environment we call as user function. As a man, we are capitalizing, we are using all the natural system. Okay, this is the second subsystem we call user function. Please be aware of it. The third one, what we call the infrastructures, consists of the technical and organizational infrastructures. These infrastructures are indeed to make available and thus also to materialize the intended user function, meaning that all the natural system using by people or human is always incorporate the infrastructures. Though infrastructure is different component than user function, but actually infrastructure and user function, they are very close related each other. So therefore, this infrastructure are indeed to make available and thus materialize the intended user function. In many cases, the infrastructure have an intended as well as an unintentional effect. Again, as an unintentional effect on the natural system. And sometimes also directly or even indirectly on other use function, resulting in stress and conflict. By having utilizing the infrastructure on the natural system, it may also creating more stress, conflict, disruption, damaging on the natural system. That's why we have to find what we call trade-off among the natural system, user function, and infrastructure. It is the task, again, now we are coming to our subject. It is the task of integrated coastal zone management, again, to understand, to monitor, and to manage the process between the three subsystems. So guys, principally our subject this morning about the coastal system analysis is using to understand, to monitor, and to manage the process between the human component, natural component, and also infrastructure component. So up to this point, I hope you understand what we are discussing on. If you have question, please, you can ask right now. Otherwise, I will continue our lecture. Have a look this system. Let me goes down into the more concrete example. This is the coastal system, and the top we have, as I mentioned before, what we call nature system, which is the nature in the broad scale consists of the energy, and the energy on the coastal area can be from wave, tides, winds on the coastal area. And the three different energy will also influence on the geological structures and give impact on the material which exists on the coastal area. So you can see after Hansom 1988. First we will break down it into the geological structures, which is here we can see wave, tides, and wind is always plays important role on the geological structures. On the very dominant geological structures, due to the energy from the coastal area, we can find the landform in terms of cliff, shore platform, and other landform. But also we will get the coral reef, beach, and mud flow, etc. and so on. So principally, from this diagram, we understand about the natural system. The natural system itself consists of the energy, geological structures, and also the materials. So different materials will give different response due to the energy occurs or happen or working on it. For example, the wave energy working on the marine material will create beach, will create sand dune, for example, etc. and so on. So this is just simplifying how the coastal system in terms of the natural system occur on the coastal area. So I hope you understand about this condition on the coastal area. Suppose we have more one people, but they left, yeah? I don't know why, but maybe you can ask why it was 7 and now currently only 6. Continue. This is another example. I show you. This is the platform of the coastal area, which is we have beach, we have cliff, we have the abrasion platform. Those three are actually natural system. And the question is, where do we find erosion and deposition of this phenomenon, which is cliff on a beach and nodes in a southern part of coastal area of Java. So notice this one, that is called nodes. Nodes happen due to the wave energy from the sea. The wave creating the erosion on the beach, and then they created the landform after the erosion. the landform after the erosion, what we call notches. And this we call what we call beach. The beach is the place for the deposition of the material due to the erosion process. So the beach is the deposition area of the material from nodes of the material from wave energy. And this shape of the wave, shape of the coastal area is influenced by the wave energy. So we can see here the people are gathering on this kind of the situation. Now we have very perfect example on how the nature and human has the interaction on the coastal area, and this is what we call coastal system analysis. Again, this is the erosion taking place in this area, and this is also the deposition taking place of the. Okay, sorry to hear that. Please send my empathy to him. Let me continue to Mas Burhan. Okay. Now, here it is. In the next meeting, I will ask you to give the example of these two diagrams. I will stop the lecture up to this PowerPoint, and later on, you have to try to give the example and discussing later on the next meeting how the subsystem has the interaction. Okay, the first diagram. This is the natural subsystem, user function, and infrastructure. Now zoom in on the coastal zone. Previously we are working on the large scale. Now we have the detailed scale. Three subsystems can be defined. As I mentioned before, this is the same one. User function, infrastructure, which is part of the human system, and the natural subsystem, which is part of the natural system. So by having this one, actually that was only two major systems, nature and human. But human, we have user function and infrastructure. All those things that human employing the natural, we call user function. Once they use the tools, equipment, building, bridge, system, etc., and so on, we call infrastructure. So below, the central position of the integrated coastal zone management is visualized in relation to the three subsystems. The user function represents one of the two subsystems identified in the previous section. So this is as I mentioned. I will keep this for the future meeting. So by this first meeting, we understand that first we got the global system, which is consists of the nature and human system, and again it is also works also for the coastal zone, which is the two system, nature and human. And now we have three subsystem, which is user function, infrastructure, and natural system. And I will ask you, I will invite you to give the example in order to explain with the three subsystem. Again, also, our first meeting, we learn about the coastal system analysis, which is consists of two words, coastal system and coastal analysis. Coastal system meaning blah, 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 that I already explained to you, and analysis also meaning break down into smaller pieces in order to us to easy to understand. So far, there is the question. If there is no question, I understand that you will have another meeting at 1 o'clock. That's why I supposed to stop my lectures right now. I will see you again in the next future. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you,
Thank you
Prof.
very much.
Thank you,
Thank
Prof.
you, Prof.
Thank you, Prof.